to the presentation. This is what we will cover. We will take a look at what is the current state of mental well-being. The pandemic, COVID, has been a wake-up call for the whole world. And I think basically everybody went through a challenging experience during the pandemic, the 2 years of pandemic. And there is a lot more awareness regarding the need to be mentally healthy during such challenging times as well. And so I will just talk a little bit about what is the current state with mental well-being and why does it now need to start taking the forefront. And then we will look at the connection between human performance and mental well-being. We will also take a look at mind and body connection, and then the framework for how do we promote mental well-being and well-being as a whole. And there is a roots and shoots framework that I'm really excited to share with you today. We'll take a look at fish philosophy and the power of habits. And then if time permits, then we'll open up for question and answer. So, once again, the current state. World Health Organization issued a statement not too long ago that this is a wake-up call. The pandemic is a wake-up call for all countries to step up mental health services and support both. And what also has been observed is that ability to work has been impacted due to unprecedented stress. We all went through stressful times. We went through periods of anxiety, grief, fear, all of that. And during the pandemic, and even now as an aftermath of the pandemic, the global prevalence of anxiety and depression has increased by almost 25%. This is totally unprecedented. And here are some statistics. In 2017, the global prevalence of mental health issues was around 10.7%. In 21, it is 25%. Anxiety, 2017 was 3.8%. 2021, May 2021, it is 26.9%. Depression has also increased. 2017, 3.4% globally. Now it is increased to 28%. And then there were some other mental health conditions that also have been reported, like post-traumatic stress disorder, that is the PTSD is the acronym for that, around 24.1%. Stress has increased to 36.5%. Psychological distress increased to 50%. And sleep problems, insomnia, sleep problems have increased by 27.6%. And these are the statistics from the World Health Organization. Now, Impact Afia, that is my company, we provide employee well-being services, and we also partner with a US-based organization, Workplace Options, who primarily provides professional development for my team here, local team. I'm sorry, is there something? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by some sound. I'm not sure where it is coming from. Okay, thank you. Right, so our partners, Workplace Options, they provide well-being services globally. And so they are providing services to more than 40,000 employees worldwide to different corporate organizations. And so they recently came up with this data where and this is as recent as August 2021, when they did a survey of almost 2,000 employees worldwide in different countries. They identified that the top 5 concerns were stress. Around 68% of employees reported stress as a key issue. Anxiety and panic, 54%. Low mood, not really having the right, not being happy, being sad, around 48%. difficulty concentrating, 14%, and low self-esteem, around 12%. So these were the top 5 concerns that were reported globally as well. And this was through a research that was conducted by our partners. And what do we see here in Tanzania at Impact Afya? Over the last 2 years, and even now as an aftermath of the pandemic, we are definitely seeing a lot more requests coming in for mental health issues, mental health concerns, for counseling with this area, counseling and coaching. And the types of issues that we are seeing are a lot of calls related to stress management, burnout, fatigue, along with burnout, anxiety regarding the uncertainties, that we are all facing, panic attacks, suicidal tendency, financial constraints, financial well-being is, in fact, it triggers off a lot of anxiety, stress, burnout, etc. There is grief, post-traumatic stress disorder. And then we are also seeing a lot of issues related to relationships. And this would be marital relationships, family relationships, separation, relationships related to separation, and the emotional aspects, that an individual goes through. And then we also have started seeing cases of adolescents' mental health, kids who are teenagers, and their parents are actually, basically requesting our services to provide them support because either there are behavioral issues at home with the family, arguments with parents, or not being able to adjust at school and having some difficulties at school as well. Insomnia and addictions. These are primarily alcohol addictions and smoking. Those are the prevalent ones that that we have started seeing more and increasingly over the last 2-3 years or so. Yeah. So this is the current state of affairs. Now, I think at this point, I just want to kind of pose a question to all of you as to, from your perspective, do these issues impact performance? This could be performance at home, performance at work as well. Does it affect human performance? From your perspective, what is human performance? And from your perspective, what is mental well-being? There is no right or wrong answer. I think it would be interesting to see what is your perspective, of performance and what is your perspective of mental well-being. You don't have to answer both. You can answer either one of them, just to, have some discussions. Anyone? They are connected? Okay, they are connected. So you strongly believe that both of them are connected. Can you tell us how are they connected? With a good cup of coffee. Okay, that's a good one. a coffee always helps us, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe at some time we will also talk about caffeine and the caffeine addiction and what does it do to your systems? Yeah. Right. Okay. That's a good one. Okay. Anyone would like to? Yes. Sure.
If you're stressed, you have insomnia, you cannot perform well at either workplace or at home.
Definitely. So there is a very strong connection between the two. And obviously, when you have got a positive mindset, then you are able to manage your stress better. You are more resilient, you are more adaptable, you are more flexible as well. So there are a lot of aspects to maintaining our mental health, maintaining our mental well-being, to how we perform, both at work and in our personal lives as well. Yeah, maybe less arguments. We can be good listeners as well. So there are a lot of advantages there. Oh. Okay. So Thank you for your response. Anybody else would like to add to that? Have you noticed anything, like with your personal experience? Have you noticed that when you are not feeling very good, if you are worried about something, if you are stressed about something, then how does it impact your performance? Maybe that is something that you need to reflect on. Yeah. Okay, so basically, I think all of us strive to be the best version of ourselves, isn't it? We all want to be the best version of ourselves, at home and at work, both. And what are the key components here? Because when we look at our performance, then first of all, we need to look after our own health, isn't it? Our health is important. This is our physical health, mental health, Physical health is important because if you've got aches and pains, or if you've got something wrong with your systems, then you really are not able to focus. You are not able to concentrate. So health is important because health improves the quality of your life, where you are able to function at your peak. Yeah, physically we need to be able to function, and that means we need to look after our own health. Similarly, well-being there are 6 dimensions of well-being, and physical and mental are the 2 most important dimensions. And then there are dimensions like, environment, and there are dimensions like, ergonomics, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to go into those dimensions today. But when we look at well-being, then if we are looking after our own well-being, then it helps us manage our stress levels. It helps us manage our anxiety levels as well, because that is the tool for us to cope with the challenges, that are coming our way. And that is where our performance increases. That is when we can be the best version of ourselves. And this is the foundation. More and more research is showing that we need to be more aware of our own well-being. We need to take time to take care of ourselves, our health, our mental health, etc., so that we are able to perform better. Okay? Right. So we are talking about mental health. What exactly is it? Yeah? So here is the definition. Mental health is the general state of well-being and the state of mind. Positive, optimistic, resilient, flexible, adaptable. That is what we want to be mentally, so that we are able to cope with the stresses that come our way, we are able to deal with challenges that come our way. Because we cannot stop them. They are not in our control. I mean, COVID was an example, not in our control. But what really, sustained us was how do we deal with that? What is our coping mechanism? And that is where our mental health comes into picture. Mental illness, on the other hand, is something that disrupts our mental state. Yes, there is a huge challenge ahead of us. There is a close family member who is seriously ill, or somebody that we have lost, or workplaces. I mean, overnight, Tanzania had to learn how to work in a hybrid work model. We all had to learn how to connect online, how to conduct our sessions online. How do we manage our work and home life, working from home? And all of that required a lot of, that mental agility, that mental resilience as well, to be able to cope with it. So when something disrupts our mental illness, our mental state, then that is when it disrupts our normal way of thinking. And that is what mental illness is all about. Yeah? It can be short-term, like grief, like stress, like anxiety, like PTSD. It can be short-term, where with some support or through your own coping mechanism, you get over that. And then there are mental illnesses which are mental disorders, and that may require some professional support as well. Yeah? So this is the difference between the mental health and mental illness. Now, something that I also want to talk about here is the stigma that we have about mental health. Because gone are the days when we feel that we cannot talk about mental health openly. Those days are gone now. because we have to learn how to talk about it openly, because we do not have any problems in telling, in saying that, look, I've got high blood pressure, and I'm going for my checkup to the doctor. I'm going there to see how can I manage my pressure better, and I'm looking after my own diet, and I'm exercising, etc., etc. And we really can talk about that a lot more, about our hypertension, about our other conditions, ulcers, diabetes, etc., etc. But when it comes to mental health, we don't want to talk about it, because culturally, and it is not only here in Tanzania, this is worldwide, everywhere, culturally, when people hear that, oh, she or he had to go to a psychiatrist, it's like, oh, must be cuckoo, something is wrong, let us stay away from them, that is usually the reactions. But I think now we need to wake up, and we really need to break through that stigma. Because with mental health stigma, there are 6 types of stigma. There is public, there is self, there is institutional, by association. So there are different types of stigma that are defined. And then the consequences of that stigma is that there is a reluctance to seek treatment. So even if treatment is available, there can be a reluctance to seek treatment. There can be social isolation. We see a lot of violence and hate as well. And we are hearing about, in other countries, we are hearing about numerous episodes of gunshots, hearing about numerous episodes of, the killings that are happening as well. And a lot of these are tied down to the mental health of the population, of the age groups, how they are brought up, what type of, support systems they have, or what is the lack of the support systems, yeah? There are feelings of shame. There could also be unemployment and discrimination, So, even now, when we get a few cases where we feel that they do need to get some support from their place of employment, because they need that supportive environment, or that that we also need to bring in their family members so that they can get the supportive environment. Most of the times, 9 times out of 10, these individuals tell us that, no, I will be discriminated against, yeah, because we cannot share this information without the individual consent. And therefore, they are like, no, I will be discriminated against. And I think that is where our workplaces need to be more open to this, rather than discrimination, trying to, look at what are the supportive strategies that can be offered to these employees, so that the organization performs, the individual performs as well, yeah, providing the safe spaces. So what can we do? And this is where, as leaders, as managers, we need to have a better appreciation of mental fitness. We need to have a better appreciation of, our colleagues, our employees, our teams, and give them a hand of support when required. If required, when they are going for professional support, then rather than, stigmatizing, kind of being understanding, relating to what they must be going through at that time. So there is a lot that can be done here, provide some safe spaces for those employees as well, and that will change, the way the organization culture is as well regarding mental health. So rather than thinking that they are cuckoo, trying to provide them with the support. So this is like an infograph that basically, once again, that emphasizes, recaps what we have discussed. And I will start from the bottom right, yeah, where the blue box, where human performance and mental health go hand in hand. And I think we kind of have discussed that. You can't have health without mental health. Yeah, so when we talk about health, we need to think of mental health as one of the key components of our health as well. And mental health is more than absence of mental illness, because, yes, we don't have any mental illness, but are we feeling the best? Are we performing at our best? Are we very positive? Are we very optimistic? That is the perspective that we need to start having. Mental health aids in coping with stress. Because if we are managing our own mental health, if we are maintaining it, and I will talk a little bit about that as well, then that gives us the coping strategies for dealing with stress. A lot of times, people say that, oh yeah, my work there is a lot of pressure. I can't deal with all the assignments that I have, So is it the employer that is at fault? Or can we do something about dealing with those pressures? Are we looking at our time management skills? Are we looking at our skill levels? Do we have the skills to deal with that assignment? Are we looking at delegation? Are we looking at how are we managing the teams that we have? Are we looking at our relationships? There are a lot of questions that come into play there as well. So, if we are fit mentally, then we are able to think through a lot of that as well. And of course, workplace wellness must be a top priority here. Yeah, I think there is a lot more awareness. We are getting, inquiries. We are getting a lot of interest in the webinars that we conduct on a regular basis as well, where individuals are definitely beginning to think of workplace wellness in a broader sense. When we established Impact Afia, workplace wellness was like send us an aerobics instructor, and that is it. But now it has expanded a lot more than just having an aerobic class, 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. So why should you take care of your mental health? I think there is a long list here. But essentially, positive mental health allows us to cope with challenges in our lives, empathize, manage stress, be more resilient, reach our highest potential, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to go through each bullet here, yeah. But it is important. We should learn to we should take care of our own mental health and take time to do that. Oops. Okay. Now, something that I also want to highlight is that if there are mental health issues, then there are consequences of that. And again, this could be short-term or long-term mental health issue. Yeah. First of all, productivity and job performance is impacted. Because with mental health issue, if you are very stressed, if we are grieving, if there is an anxiety, if we are having panic attack, any of those, it is better to recognize that and do something about it. Because if we don't, it impacts our productivity and job performance. A lot of mistakes are made, safety hazards, a lot of accidents, happen because of the mental health issues as well. Engagement, we are disengaged with our work. Decision making can be very poor because our brain is not able to, send the messages very clearly. There could be physical capability issue and daily functioning issue as well, where you really do not want to get out of bed and go to work. That happens. Or if you're at work, then it can be, sleeping at the desk, dozing off. Communication is also impaired because you are not feeling very good about the positivity aspect is not there, the optimism aspect is not there, and that kind of filters through the communication aspect as well. Yeah, there can be irritability, there can be a lot of anger, getting into a lot of arguments as well. So a lot of those things happen, which is really, then the organization does not perform well when the individuals do not perform well. Yeah. So these are the consequences. Now, looking at mental health, mental wellness, what is the connection, I now just want to, get into what can we do about it? How do we maintain our mental health? Are we all okay so far? Yeah? Okay. All right. So the first thing that we need to recognize is that there is a mind and body connection. There is a very strong connection between our mind and body. And about 300 years ago, when we talk about spiritual aspects, when we talk about emotional aspects, when we talk about mental state, and then when we talk about physical state, that was all kind of, thought through, because when we look at a lot of our scriptures, there is a lot of, emphasis on spiritual, mental, body, physical aspects, all of that. When we really look at any scriptures, any religion, any faith that you are following, you will see a reference to that. And then somewhere along the line with the 20th century came a lot of research regarding the physical aspect. That is when surgery came into vogue. There is when, we can cut and paste, bones. There is a fracture. This is what we can do. And so there was a lot of focus on the physical aspect of health. And the mental health aspect kind of, took a back seat. And of course, we also had to deal with the culture taboos and the stigma and all of that. Now, again, there is this realization that mind is important as well. Mental health is equally important. And even the medical fraternities are now taking the mental health aspect very, very seriously. I mean, just if somebody has gone through a surgery and we tell them that have a strong willpower, that is going to help you. Think positive, that is going to help you recover fast. Yeah, that is where we are. Already we are referring to, if you have positive mental health, then that is going to help your recovery process. Yeah, and this is something that we need to be conscious about in our day-to-day life. So if we take care of our physical health, then we kind of start taking care of our mental health, and vice versa, because of the connection between the two. We are a whole unique system. And it is an amazing system that we have. When everything works, we are happy. When something does not work, then we have to try and fix it, yeah? Whether it is body or mind, okay? And this is where I want to share this framework. And this is a recent research that has been conducted. This is a neuroscience research that was conducted, of course, in the US. And basically, what this framework is saying is that think of the analogy of a tree. Because when you look at a tree, the roots, it's the roots and shoots framework, yeah? So the roots are very well grounded. You cannot move the roots very, very easily. They kind of find their way where there is water, where they are getting the nutrients, etc., but it is a slow process. And they are very firmly in the ground. Yeah, you cannot move them very easily with a tree. But when you look at the shoots, then the shoots are basically, depending on how healthy the roots are, the shoots grow. And the shoots will look at where is the sunlight, where is the oxygen, and then they will kind of try to find that direction, and they would flourish based on that. But a lot is dependent on how healthy the roots are. And that is when the shoots are going to do well. Are we okay with that analogy? Yeah, okay. And think of a sunflower. Because the sunflower changes direction with the sun, isn't it? It blooms with the sun, and it changes direction with the sun. But the roots are there. Yeah, the roots are not moving. It is only the flower that is moving, okay? Similarly, when we are looking at our health, we have to look at what will ground us. How can we make our roots very strong so that we are able to flourish like the shoots, okay? So we have to strengthen our roots. And how do we strengthen them? This is where the mental health comes into picture. This is where tools and techniques like mindfulness, like meditation, like taking time for our own self-care, like developing some hobbies, developing our creativity, developing our innovation skills. All of that comes into picture because that is what keeps us grounded, and that is what would help us flourish. That is what would help us spread our shoots. Okay? So there is a lot of research that has been done. Again, today I'm just giving the overview of what this framework is all about, because there is a lot of learning and unlearning. Because today's world it's very uncertain. Yeah, very, very, I mean, who had predicted the war between Russia and Ukraine? Yeah, who had predicted COVID pandemic? Who had predicted the inflation, the economic times, this and that? Who had predicted Trump, of all people, But all of these things do happen. There is a lot of uncertainty. And what is going to help us deal with this uncertainty is how grounded we are and how do we prepare ourselves for that, yeah? How resilient are we? So just a quick look at our own self-care. mind and body connection, that is whole health. So when we talk about health, it is not just physical health. Let us look at our mental health as well. And when we look at mental health, self-care, there is healthy lifestyle. Sorry, some of the words are truncated, I think because of the changing laptop. But basically, when we look at healthy lifestyle, then the key components, physical activity, nutrition, what you consume is important. Conscious eating, conscious nutrition, mindful eating is important. Sleep is important. Yeah. Mental health, of course, is important. How do we cope with stress? How do we manage our stress? And what is our social connectedness? Relationships. We are a very social society in Tanzania. How healthy are our relationships? Are we connected in a healthy manner? Yeah, so that social connectedness is also very important. And these are the key components of a healthy lifestyle. I'm just going to take a look at a few, the most critical. All of them are important, but I'll just take a look at a few. First of all, what is physical health? That is the way the parts and systems of our body work together. I mean, we can raise our arm like this. If something is broken, we won't be able to do that. Yeah, and we have to take care of that. If we exercise as we age, if we exercise, then we will be able to do this very easily. If we do not, then there will be some stiffness. And I think we have seen that happening a lot with age. And basically, the physical health helps us have the strength and energy to lead a normal life, to be able to carry out our daily functions. Yeah? We take a lot of things for granted. I think we need to be more conscious about our own health and see what needs to be done. And one other aspect of good physical health is regular medical checkups. That is an important criteria as well. I know that, again, culturally, we are not very conscious about it, but but it is a good, it is a key component of our physical health as well. Because if we are going for regular checkups, then we know we are fine, and we are able to detect any onset of disease early enough and do something about it. Yeah. Okay. If there is no physical activity, then what are the consequences? Obesity, non-communicable diseases, lack of energy. A lot of times people say, I just don't have energy to deal with this. How much time do I have? Huh? It's a secret. Okay, let me see. 10 minutes, yes, I can manage in 10 minutes, thank you. So NCD is no energy, lack of energy. There can be poor focus, poor movement, poor sleeping. All of these are consequences of no physical activity, okay? And physical activity is basically 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes on a daily basis out of a 24-hour day, which is 1,440 minutes that you have. Surely you can identify 20 to 30 minute slot for your physical movement. Yeah, it can be a brisk walk, does not necessarily mean going to the gym. Yeah. Nutrition and health is important because nutrition, rather than looking at food as something that tastes good and that looks good, think of it that as it is something that helps with growth and development. It is something that gives you energy. It builds your immunity. It helps with disease prevention and management. It helps your brain function. There is brain food as well, and it helps your brain function better. Okay, so look at nutrition from that point of view. Sleep is important because when you sleep, again, as I mentioned earlier, your body is an amazing, amazing piece of machinery. So even when you sleep, there is something going on there. Your memories are consolidated, yeah, and they are stored for learning, because this is what you require for learning. You need to remember, isn't it? You need to call upon your memory. Proper sleep, adequate sleep helps you with that. You are able to concentrate and pay attention. Muscles repair and recover while you are sleeping. Your metabolism is regulated. And you maintain, of course, better mental health and physical health. Just think of a time when you haven't had adequate sleep. How do you feel the next day? It's like some people, they just want to shoot anybody that comes in their sight. It's like, don't come near us, stay away, or jump out of the window. Yeah, there are some extreme cases. These are the symptoms of sleep debt. depression, mood swings, poor concentration, fatigue, forgetfulness, all of this, because of lack of sleep. So sleep is an important component. These are the main causes of stress. I'm just going to go to stress management now. You've got day-to-day irritants, a long commute, IT not working, whatever, irritating colleague. So there can be a lot of these irritations. A lot of these stress triggers are self-generated because we kind of easily get stressed out. There could be work-related, there could be relation-related, money-related, life changes, as we go through transition of life, because life happens. And, we go from university, a fresh graduate, to work, to senior manager, to senior leader, and then along with that, personally, getting married, having family, having parents to take care of, death in the family, happy occasions, all of that, life happens. And some of them can be stressful as well. So each one of that has got a long list, but there could be compartmentalized in, this key main causes of stress. And it is important to know what are your stress triggers, because there is a stress and coping cycle. When you are stressed, there is a feeling of discomfort. If we have got good mental health, which helps us be resilient, then we have got positive coping strategies, and then we are able to find relief. If we do not have good mental health, then our coping strategies may be negative. Where we are getting very, very anxious, panicky, chronic stress, all of that starts building up, and the cycle keeps on continuing, and the stress does not go away. So this is where mental well-being helps. Okay, a lot of science behind this. Let me just very briefly introduce you to the fish philosophy. Basically, there is a story about these two young fish that are swimming in the ocean, and old fish comes there and asks them, how is the ocean? And this young fish kind of take a look at each other and say, where is the ocean? Okay, where is the ocean? And I think sometimes we get so involved with our daily routine that we do not take the time to look at what are the resources, what are our inner resources that we have available to us, and how do we tap onto that ocean, the riches of that ocean that we have. That is what the fish philosophy is all about. So take some time to think about your lifestyle. What are your habits? These are pictures of the good, the bad, and the ugly habits. Someone who is getting a good night's sleep, somebody who is smoking, somebody who is, eating a nutritious meal, and somebody who is on junk food. So kind of look at classify what are your good habits and your bad habits, and see what changes you want to bring about. How do you get there? There is a very famous book that was published in 2014 by Charles Duhigg, and it is titled The Power of Habits, and that was a game changer, because he did a lot of research on how do we develop our habits and how can we change our habits. And this is where the keystone habits came into picture, that we can have a number of habits, and as we pass through transitions of life, we also have to review what are our habits and what do we need to change. And then pick up one or two habits from there that you want to change. And that become your keystone habits. I mean, exercise is a very good example and a tangible example of a keystone habit. Because when you start exercising, it is not only for your weight management, but it makes you feel good because it releases the feel-good hormones as well. And then you will see that once you have that discipline, then a lot of things will kind of start falling in place as well. So you can pick up those keystone habits and then focus on one or two habits. Once you have those as your healthy habits, then you can move on to the next one. So your keystone habits then become your lifelong healthy habits, and that basically help you, support you to reach your full potential, to perform better and better. And keystone habit can start a chain reaction of positive change in your life. So reflect on how you are reacting to stress, reflect I'm winding up, last slide, okay? And keystone is, when you have got like an arc, and there is a stone in the center, the structure of that arc, there is a stone, the keystone right there, which is holding the whole structure. If that keystone falls, then the whole structure falls. Yeah? So this is where, what is your keystone habit that is going to help you hold yourself together? And not only hold yourself, but help you excel. That is what, we all need to kind of reflect on and think through. Okay, so I am going to conclude with a quote by late Martin Luther King, who says, I have so much to do today that I'm going to need 3 hours of prayers to get it all done. Okay, thank you.